I think it's important to remember that these individuals that are looking to sell their home, they all have different reasons. They all have different pain points. Not one of them is the same like the other. And being a good listener is so critical in those initial upfront conversations with them. And what Caroline taught me and Jeff Smith as well is that you will minimum have at least 10 to 15 touch points before they make a decision.
Anything exciting happening today?
Been a busy, productive day.
Good. Yeah. Did you have some conversations since we talked earlier?
Yes, I had a conversation with a seller who he's promising, and we also had Brian also had another conversation with another promising seller. So we'll see how those go. Yeah,
That's great.
and
That's great.
yeah, making
Cool.
progress.
Yeah, well, that's actually what we're going to be talking about tonight, talking to sellers. And so, yeah, we've done a lot of talking about the mechanics of how a buying zero down works, the different people that are involved, the different challenges and solutions. And we have talked a little bit about, um, you know, what it takes to start that conversation, maybe some good sentence starters and things like that. But because Marcella has so much experience with the wholesaling side of things and has been trained by some really great people, she's going to share some of her wisdom tonight. So she is going to share some things about how to talk to sellers and some different strategies and some different things that she has learned. So before we jump into that, does anybody have any questions on the top of their mind that they want to get answered? We're always open to answer questions or deals that you want us to look at numbers wise and see if it makes sense. Okay.
I did have a deal, but I have to find it. I will find it before the end and bring it to you.
Perfect. We can do that at the end then. That would be great, Robert. Thank you for that. Yeah, AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, I looked I heard the recording from last week, and I had some questions on the relay banking and the holding LLC and all that. I think if there's a way to have visually put like how things are going to work once the LOI is in place. I think that would be very useful because I figured there are a lot of moving pieces there.
Yeah, for sure. If you want, I'm gonna put in the chat the link. Well, maybe not that. Well, I guess I can grab the link. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Give me a second here. We actually started another YouTube podcast on our YouTube channel, and we've been reposting some of our buying zero down Zooms from like way back at the beginning. And the first couple ones of those, I actually use a lot of visuals, and I walk through and talk through, how the money moves, like from us to the relay account, then from there to the escrow. And so if that's what you're looking for, I think AJ, that would be a good resource. So let me go ahead and share that. If you go there, there's two podcasts that are included in there. One is our investor spotlight that we've been doing for over a year now. And then the other one is newer. It's the Buying Zero Down podcast. And it has, right now, I've only posted the first 4 weeks. This is week number 11 already that we've been doing this every Wednesday. And so the first 4 weeks are up. I'm planning on putting a few more up. But if you go back to those first couple of weeks, I think, AJ, you'll see the visuals that you're looking for there. And hopefully that'll be helpful. But after you see those, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to book a Zoom with us. And we'll even a one-on-one Zoom with you to talk it through and explain it. We're happy to do that. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Appreciate that. All right. Well, hey, I think at this point, oh, good. We've got Michael came in here from Fort Lauderdale. That's wonderful. Like I said, tonight we have a special guest speaker. It's my wife, Marcella, and excited for her to share some of her knowledge of how to talk to sellers. You know, a big portion of buying property zero down is being able to negotiate with a seller who's open to carrying back a portion of their equity so that you can use that equity to cover the down payment and closing costs and buy a property for zero down. But how do you even start the conversation, and what are things you should say and shouldn't say? And Marcella's got a lot of expertise, so I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let her take it away here. She's got a great slideshow that she put together. She's going to share with you and go through some important points to keep in mind. And hopefully this will be something that'll be helpful for you guys as you're talking with different potential carryback sellers.
Awesome. Thank you for the intro. Good to see everyone. And if you are not driving and able to put on your camera, I so much more enjoy seeing faces than I do black boxes. So please put on your camera so we can get to know you. But anyway, good to see everyone that is here. Cindy, AJ, Robert, thanks for being here. So a little bit about my background. I did wholesaling for a little while. And so much of those skills apply to funding. And actually, in any area of real estate that you're doing, right, is knowing how to have a conversation with a potential seller. There you are, Quan. I love it. Good to see you. Am I saying your name right? Yes. Okay, good. Uh, okay, perfect. Good to see you. And I love seeing faces. Although I have to admit at times we're eating or something right on a Zoom. And what do? You turn off your camera because you don't want everybody else to see that you're eating, right? So anyway, but I actually learned a lot under the mentorship of Caroline Kane. How many of you are familiar with her? Raise your hand if you are, put a one in the chat, whatever works. So I actually was mentored by her. She's fantastic at talking with sellers. And I was also mentored by Jeff Smith. Good, Quan, you know exactly who that is. Jeff Smith, who is a closer. He's very well known in the sub-2 community as well, for getting deals to the finish line, right? And so part of your role as a buyer looking to acquire properties buying zero down is to find out what's going on with the seller, right? Because I can tell you right now, if you just jump in and you start throwing out seller carryback financing terms or the word stack method, which is what our team uses because you are stacking a new loan on top of an existing loan, okay? Both of those terms alone will turn off the normal layperson who's just all they want is to sell their home. That's all they want to do. That's their number one focus, right? And here you are going, hey, you know what? I can give you terms. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, I think I've heard terms at a bank before, right? We all know terms from a bank. Are you a bank person, Cindy? Do you work at the bank? Which bank do you work at? Bank of America? Chase? Where are you working, right? I mean, they're going to be so confused. And so you want to bring immediate clarity to this conversation, right? And so I'm going to share some slides. I'm going to go through them. Today's only part one. I'm going to do a broad overview. However, and thanks for saying one, Michael. Was that one on the, I'm not sure which one that was, but I appreciate you putting it in. A
That was
broad over.
he's heard of people you were talking about. That's what that
Oh,
was. Yeah.
perfect. Yeah,
Caroline
awesome.
Kane and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do a broad overview today, and then next week is part two, where I'm going to dive in really, really deep, okay, about those conversations. So you're definitely not going to want to miss next week. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's go to, oop, I got to move you guys. Oh, you are all in my way. Got to move you. All right, we're going to do full screen. There we go. Okay, can everybody see that? Yes, perfect. Okay, so how to talk to sellers who might do a seller carryback. Now, the word might, the reason it's in there is when you're talking to a seller, you're not really sure what they're up to, right? You kind of know, hey, they're looking to sell that property. However, we're not really sure where they're at. So the number one thing I want to talk about here is mindset. Your mindset going in, okay? Your goal is to just be a trusted advisor, not a salesperson. Now, how many of you have been walked into some store, car dealership, right? let's think of the infamous car dealership. Cindy's laughing because she knows this is so true, right? You're walking in, and what happens? What's that sense, that feeling that you get when you walk in? I can tell you what I feel. I usually am like, oh no, here they come. They're like, it's like I'm a tiny little sheep in a lion's den, and we all know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to get devoured by those lions who all they want is the sale. That's all they want, right? So your role is to be a trusted advisor. Your job is to help the seller make the best decision for themselves, not for you. Now that's kind of backwards if you think about it, because how many raise your hand or put a 1 in the chat if you've ever thought like, well, wait a minute, like I'm looking to buy this property, Marcella. Why do I have to make it about them? How many of you agree that most of the time when you start that conversation, you get so excited, there is a seller who said yes, they want to talk to you. What happens? What happens during that time? Anybody want to unmute? Anybody want to be brave enough to unmute and tell me what happens during that time?
You're
I
already
can tell
seeing
you.
dollar signs and you're thinking about that payday.
Yes, exactly, Robert. You're seeing dollar signs and they are looking like deer in headlights, like what is going on right now? Right? So your job is just to be a facilitator. Your job is to be a trusted advisor. Now that word trusted is huge in this initial conversation, right? Because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. They are not going to do business with you if they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. Let me tell you, one of my initial conversations that I learned, Caroline and Jeff both said, you've got to make an initial connection in the first 5 to 10 seconds. Now, think about this. You're on a phone call. Most of you here, raise your hand or put again a 2 in the chat if most of you here are making calls and not really in front of that seller at this point. So you're either doing it virtually, you're buying in different. Yep, I see Cindy raise her hand. Thank you, Cindy. Yep, Tim. Most of us aren't, Robert, right? We're on a phone call. We're not in person in front of that person. So how do you build that trust on the phone in the first 5 to 10 seconds? How? I'll give you a perfect example. You know what I say? First thing I say, you know what, Cindy? Hey, Cindy. Man, thanks for taking my call so early. Have you had your coffee yet? And they just start laughing. Because why? Because we all understand that it's early and we need something to get us going. And that's a common thread throughout all humanity, right? Or, man, I live in Phoenix. I don't know where you live, but if it's cooler where you are, I'm coming there. It's 110 here today. Again, I'm just trying to bring some kind of common ground to the table, right? Oh, well, I live in Texas. Our humidity is much worse than yours. Great. I just got them involved in the conversation, right? Had nothing to do with the house. Nothing. Okay. So The Art of Storytelling is a book. How many of you have heard that? Raise your hand if in your Zoom, if you, or physically, doesn't matter. If you've heard of The Art of Storytelling, that is an amazing book. You will definitely want to either listen to that audio or read it. So your role is on that phone call is to 80% of the time you're listening and 20% of the time you're just like, okay, so they're talking 80%. Sorry, you're actually just listening in 80% and they're doing most of the talking. Like, let them do the talking. So that 80-20 rule, right? They're going to do most of the talking and you might do 20% of the talking. Why? Because your goal is to gather information. You are in a gathering information stage right now. All right. Okay. Any questions on this first slide before I move on? And Tim, you might be able to help me. I can't see everybody for some reason. So, okay. Building rapport in the first 15 seconds. We just talked about this, right? You're not reading a script. Now, I can tell you that I was also, Caroline Kane and Jess Smith both have scripts, but why do they have scripts? The reason for a script is it's simply a guideline. It's bullet points. Now, do you think I was going, okay, hold on, let me read my, I was not doing that. Okay. Because it's that part of who you are, Cindy and Robert and AJ, that's going to make that connection with that person on that phone. It's not the script. All right. And I would always, when they first picked up the phone, I'd be like, hey, this is Marcella. Is this John, is this John Smith? And you're going to confirm who you're speaking to. Well, yo, how do you know my name? Or whatever they're going to say. What I don't know what they're going to say. Well, hey, John, again, I just said his name again, right? Hey, John, thanks for taking my call. And you're going to use their name early on in the conversation. Why? Because it builds trust, it builds rapport, and you're going to use it often. Okay. And this next line here, open-ended openers it's critical to your initial investigative stage of gathering information. How, what, when questions only. Has anybody heard of this type of questioning sequence? And if you have, unmute please and say yes. Anybody?
I have, because I went to
Robert.
Caroline for a while.
Good.
Until I figured out I didn't want to call pre-foreclosure people that were mad at me all the time.
Oh, yes, that does happen. Okay, I get it. But Cindy, you're familiar, Robert, and I don't know if there's anybody else, but that's great. So how, what, and when questions only. These begin to unpack what's truly happening with the seller and their property. Okay, so let me give you an example of, and what I can do too is for next Wednesday, if you show back up again, I'll make sure I give you a PDF format of these questions. It's phenomenal to go off of. Okay, now I know Cindy, you may have it. Robert, you may have it just because of the training. But one of them, I'll give you an example for the how. Well, so how long, John, Cindy, AJ, Robert? I'm going to say their name again, right? Why? Because I'm going to keep inserting it into the conversation. How long, Robert, have you been thinking about selling your home? And now they're going to go, oh, you know what? I'd want to sell this home for 3 years now, but finally got around to it, got it all squared. They're going to start telling you a backstory, right? And that backstory is a wealth of information for you to gather from, right? And start putting these, what I call puzzle pieces together of what's truly happening in the seller's life. Okay. Now you're probably thinking, you know, Marcella, I just want to cut the chase. Like I don't care about these open-ended openers. That's great. How, what, when? We'll get to that in a minute. But you're just like, I just need to know, are they looking to sell? I get that. Okay. But this initial upfront component to finding out and building rapport with your seller is going to be it's going to open up so many doors later. They're just going to be willing to, I mean, I even had sellers tell me, you want to know something about my great aunt? All of a sudden we're talking about the great aunt. Like, 10 conversations later, I now know about their entire family chain because they felt comfortable enough to tell me what was going on, right? And Cindy's shaking her head, yeah, she gets that. So here's another one. How soon would you like to have this all behind you, Cindy? How soon would you like to have this all behind you? Now, they might go, well, what do you mean all this behind me? Well, sounds like you have been trying to sell this house for a couple months now. Is that correct? It shows like, oh yeah, no, it's been on Zillow for, 250 days, whatever. It's like something ridiculous, right? It's been on Zillow forever. Okay. So then here's a what question. What if there would be a way that you could get your full purchase price? What if? That what if right there is so powerful. What if there's a way that you could get your full purchase price? Well, what do you mean, Cindy? I don't get it, AJ. What are you talking about? Well, John, there is actually a lot of different options you may not be familiar with, right? Most sellers, what do they know? Who wants to unmute? What do they know when it comes to buying a home? Anybody? What do they
Selling with a
know?
real estate agent.
There you go, Robert. They're going to put it on the market, right? They're going to sell it the traditional way. And they're also hoping what? A buyer comes in and buys it what? The traditional way, right? That's what they're thinking in their head. So you remember when you call them, this whole idea of creative finance probably heard somewhere along the line of this, or maybe they've had somebody else call them about it, but nobody took the time to explain what this really looks like and how it could help them, right? Nobody really took the time. You're the one person that took the time, AJ. You're the one person that took the time, Robert. All of you took the time to go, I want to learn more. So here's another great one. Like, well, what concerns you about seller finance? Well, I don't even know what you're talking about. Oh, well, would you be open to learning? I mean, I could tell you in under 5 minutes what it's all about. Yes, please tell me. Is this something a bank does? And they might start asking more questions, right? Because they don't really know. Like what else, right, Quan? They have no clue what you're talking about. They don't know. So you're going to start educating them. That there's an open door, right, for you. There's an open door for you now to explain about seller finance. And well, you know, when you go to a bank, you can talk to them about the terms of a bank, right? They know that. They get that. Most homeowners get that. So you can start diving into that. Here's another great question for when. And again, like I said, there's many more. I'm just kind of pulling from a few. Okay. So don't think these are the only ones. Um, when would be the best time for you to move forward if I found a solution for you today? Today. What does today do? It gives a sense of urgency, right? Like I can solve this today for you. Now, do you think a homeowner, Quan, that has had, and Michael, you too, has had their property out there for, let's just say, over 150 days, right? Do you think they're looking for a solution? Absolutely, right? Quan shaking her head. Yeah, they're looking for a solution. They want somebody to come to them with a solution today. That's what they want. Okay, so that's a few questions. Any questions on this particular slide? Okay. Okay, good. You guys are all getting this. I love it. Okay, so the next slide talks about qualifying and disqualifying fast. Okay, and what you want to do is remember, not every prospect is a lead. You all know this already, right? Being in real estate, you got to sift through your leads quickly. Okay, so qualified lead they have a problem, they acknowledge the problem, they also acknowledge they cannot solve it alone, and they want help. Okay, how many of you raise your hand using the little, sorry, I can't see it down there, but the little, you know, raise your hand thing, like you're wanting a question. Raise your hand if you know that that's what they want. They really do want the help, right? They want the help. And I see hands raised. Awesome. They want the help. They just don't know what they really need in terms of that help. So, you know, it says disqualify the script. If asking you these questions, I realize I'm not a good fit, would you mind if I recommend someone else? Possibly, right? Let's just say you find out seller carryback financing does not work. They only have 18% equity. You're like, oh no, right? We know that does not work. We're looking for 35% or more equity for seller carryback financing. That's a hard rule right there. You got to have more equity to work with, right? If you're going to buy properties zero down, just have to have more equity. So you might be like, you know what? Actually, I know someone else that might buy your home full cash offer at 250, 185. Oh, you do? Now you've solved their problem. You brought them value. You're done. That's great. You're going to connect them, right? You're going to move on. So you're looking for a lot of pain points, and that's that last part of this slide to get them qualified. So how do we know in the first 5 to 10 minutes of a call that is a qualified lead? And Robert, I know we talked about this earlier, so no cheating on your end. You already know the answer. I talked to Robert earlier today. That's why he's laughing. But anyway, so a qualified lead has an immediate need today. Okay, that's a hot lead, right? I need to sell my house today. Let's say Quan's talking to a seller. I need to sell my house today, Quan, because I'm so over this property and I got to get to Georgia and I live in New Mexico. And let me tell you, New Mexico and Georgia are not close to each other on the states. I got to get there in the next 2 weeks. And then they start telling you why. Well, I'm military. Oh, okay. Right. And I need to move. I've got orders to move. And now they start uncovering pain points. And pretty soon you've got several pain points. Is that a lead you're going to stay on a call with? Absolutely 100%. Right? 100%. Now, if they say to you, Kwan, look, I know my house has been on the market for 150 days. I don't care. I'm probably just going to take it off the market. I'm going to move on. I'm just going to sit here for a little while longer. You all don't give me the right price. Whatever they're going to say, you all lowballing me. We've heard that before, right? Yeah, purchase price is way too low. Are you out of your mind? I'm just taking it off the market. Click. Well, they disqualify themselves, right? They just hung up on you. So happens. It does happen. All right. Any questions on this slide at all? All right. You guys are making my job easy. Okay. During the call, discover the seller's motivations. Wow, this is good. Love that you get a recording of this. Quan did not know that, but she will get a recording for showing up today. So yes, way to go. You and Michael too. High equity long-term owner. Of course, we are looking for properties buying 0 down with a lot of equity, as I mentioned, 35% or more, right? Tired landlord, perhaps they're just over it. Like literally, I've spoken with several tired landlords. They want nothing more to do with their portfolio. Sometimes it's 10 homes, sometimes it's 1 home, sometimes it's only 5 homes, whatever it may be, right? They've inherited the property and they're like, I didn't ask to be inherited on this end. Like all of a sudden now I've got a property. What am I gonna do with this? Right? They're relocating or downsizing. They need monthly income stream. That is a huge one for buying 0 down. Who can tell me why? If the seller says, I just need something that comes to my mailbox money, those of you who are in sub 2, you've heard that before, right? From Pace, mailbox money coming to me every month. I mean, we all would love that just as a rental or something, right? On our end, right? But if they say, I just need monthly income, why is that so critical for buying 0 down? Can anyone tell me? Does anyone know? It's like there should be 100 cowbells going off in your head. Ding, 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 ding. Those cowbells, right? Because if they say they're open to monthly income, that's part of the structure of buying 0 down, right?
Quan said payments over time in the chat. So that is correct. Good job, Quan.
100%, Juan. Thank you. Thank you for answering. I couldn't see that. And they went maybe, and also here's the other one, ding, 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 right? You're like your red alert to go off in your head. One's full asking price, but cash buyers won't pay for it. Yeah. Now, in a buying 0 down, the ideal scenario is Mr. Seller says, you know what, AJ? Y'all bringing me low offers, no lowballing me 150K less, 250, whatever it may be. If it's a multifamily, it's a lot more, right? But it's kind of like y'all lowballing me on these asking prices. And look, if you can't give me a full asking price, AJ, I'm off this call in 10 seconds. Well, wait a minute. You want full asking price? Well, yeah. Well, we just talked about that a little bit earlier. What if the what if question? There it is, right? What if I could get you full asking price? Mr. Seller, John, Susie, whatever her name is, right? What if I get you full asking price? Is that something you'd be open to having a conversation about? Well, yeah, tell me more, Robert. Right? And so Robert can jump in here with me. Robert, unmute. So I'll be the seller. So tell me more about that, Robert. What do you mean get me full asking price? Nobody else has offered it to me.
Well, would you be open to be in the bank?
Well, what do you mean by the bank?
Has anyone ever talked to you about where you could receive monthly payments over time, and that helps to reduce your taxable income?
So wait, hold on a minute, Robert. You're saying you would be paying me full price and giving me monthly income?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this sounds way too good to be true. Way too good to be true. So how does that? Yeah, I want to hear more, Robert. And then you would start explaining more, right? What would you tell him
Absolutely.
next?
Well, it's absolutely legal, and it's all done through a title company. It's also done through with closing attorneys, and your property is secured by a deed of trust. So if for some reason I'm not making any monthly payments, you can actually get the property back.
Wow. So that would solve, first of all, it would solve me getting my full asking price. Um, then I actually would get monthly money from you. Is that money from you, Robert, or money from somebody else?
That's coming from me. Yeah. Would you be,
Wow.
are you open
Okay.
to getting monthly payments?
Yeah, you're the first one that's ever mentioned that. I didn't even know that existed. This is great. Yeah, Robert, when can we meet for coffee? And then you just go from there, right? Or if they're not local, obviously. When can we talk more? Or you just keep talking, right? If it works for them. A lot of times what I find is sellers that are truly motivated, they stay on that call with you. Great job, Robert. Thank you. They stay on that call with you, right? You all know that when you've had a motivated seller, what happens? Sometimes you're like, I've been on this call for 45 minutes. You've gathered so much information, which is amazing. You know, you took tons of notes, just notes, notes, notes like crazy, right? You got all their information and you know they are ready to move forward. Okay. So you're solving problems. Remember, you are a trusted advisor throughout this whole thing, and you're saying their name over. Michael, thank you for turning on that camera. I love that you're there. I see you. All right. So we're going to keep going. Anybody else have a question on this particular slide with any of these points at all? You can just unmute. Okay. All right. I love this guy's face. I mean, that face right there. Let's all say, how many of us can relate to that not so happy, kind of frustrated sounding seller, right? Okay. So here's reasons why sellers say no. Number one, they really just don't understand what this is, what seller carryback financing is. Now, I can tell you right now, one of the things you don't want to ever do is go, hey, Michael, it's Marcella. And I'm looking to buy your house now, and I want to do seller carryback financing on it. Is that good? Is that cool? Now, what's going to happen? I mean, first of all, yeah, right, Cindy? I think Cindy knows. Sorry. You can unmute if you want. It's fine. It's a small Zoom tonight. You can unmute.
I think they're gonna hang up on you.
Most likely, they're going to hang up on you because, first of all, you know what they're thinking? This is a scam. I don't know you, and you just dialed my number, Quan. I don't recognize your number from Adam. What happens when somebody calls you? How many of you, this happens to me all day long. People call me, all right? I don't have their number saved in my phone. They're looking for funding from our team, right? Goes to voicemail. Now I hear that Quan needs funds for her double close or needs EMD. And I call Quan back, right? Hey, Quan, sorry, like, you know, you're not saved in my favorites with my family. I apologize, but I'm going to call you back. Okay. I'm going to call you back. Right? Same thing, Michael, right? But they just don't get it. They just don't understand it. So the last thing we want to do is throw out a term that doesn't make sense to them and they don't fully understand. Okay. The other thing is they're like, no, I need cash right now. Now, this objection, sometimes it's like, I just want a full cash offer. I just want a full offer. So if you can give me the 250 cash, we're good to go. Right? And I know Robert's probably heard this because he's making a lot of calls right now. Okay. Michael, you may have heard this. I just need cash,
Okay,
right? Yep.
I think I can be heard now.
I can hear
Listen,
you.
listen. This isn't a moment where I didn't want to participate. This is a moment where I was trying to figure this crap out on my phone. And Robert is my invitation to this call, and he's smiling like a Cheshire grin. Look at that. Anyway, um, so I've been hearing you,
Yes.
and I've usually done this only on my iPad or
Okay.
sometimes on my PC. And
Mm-hmm.
when I tried to join this call, those were not able to join. It's like it didn't let me get in. So no issues on that, but I could only do this on my phone. And he sent
Okay.
me this invitation from a text. And so since it didn't work on the iPhone or iPad, then I joined on the phone. And
Love it.
so here we are. And it took this
Yes.
much time to finally be able to navigate with a phone level thing. And I feel like a kindergartner. But at
I
the
love
same
it.
time, I'm definitely a sub 2 student. I'm hearing what you're saying.
Mhm.
I'm listening, and you're sounding like a very powerful speaker.
Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I'm so glad you're here. Robert, thank you for inviting Michael in. We love having you. And this is really, I'm passionate about it because I've lived it, right? I've lived it and I've lived through it. And so I'm just sharing my experience so that hopefully, Michael, it will help you and others to move your business forward, right? And to be able to overcome objections like these. So some of your sellers, Michael, are going to need cash right now, and that's just it. They're not looking for seller carryback. They're not even interested, Quan, in any kind of finance terms, finance. I'll just go to the bank if I want to get my, finance, right? I get it, right? And maybe they're just not even ready yet, because there's a place where a seller gets to where they're not quite there yet. For whatever reason, there's something holding them back. Now, it could be fear, it could be lack of knowledge, not really understanding. Maybe there's something going on. I'll never forget one of the sellers I spoke to that was in pre-foreclosure when I was wholesaling. He just had so much going on in his own immediate family. He could barely keep his head straight with what was going on with the house. Does that make sense? So much other personal stuff going on, some really hard stuff. And this is where you have to come to a place of, hey, I totally get it. I'm just curious. So, do you mind telling me like why this isn't the best time for you right now? Right? I'm just curious. I want to be able to help you as much as I can. Did you notice a change in my tone? Right? You want to sound like you do care, because I mean, you should care. There's another human being on the other end of that phone that has a life. And hey, we're all going through stuff, right? We're all going through some good stuff, some hard stuff, but you just got to let them know, look, hey, I get it. You're dealing right now with the kids are with mom, kids are with dad. You guys are 500 miles away, whatever it may be. It's tough right now. I totally get it. I want you to know I'm here. You got my number. I want you to know I'm here. If you ever have a question or need to reach out, I can't even tell you how many times I had people just reach out just because.
Marcella,
Just yes,
I guess I'm still on the microphone.
you are. You are.
And I remember that Robert was introducing me to 2 Zooms. I missed the last one. I think one might have had something to do with the Morby method. What is your familiarity with the novation method, where you got the folks that go, really, I want to make the best out of this thing, and I want to be a part of it.
Hmm.
I think there's been a lot of opportunity for that, and I'm in South Florida, and
Okay.
there's been a huge upside valuation for people that say, "Hey, I've lived here for a long time, and
Hmm.
I'm seeing my price go up, so I want a piece of it." And I think that that's got a huge, uh, lack of better terms, they want a piece of the action
Hmm.
before they let it go. And I
Right.
think there's a big market for that.
Yeah. Tim, do you want to address that? Because now we just had that question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were talking about this the other day. Somebody was asking us if they could do a novation and a buying zero down. In other words, a Morby method and a novation combined. And they're 2 different strategies, really, because with a novation, what you're doing is you're not only keeping the original loan in place, so it's really a sub 2 type of deal, but you're also keeping them as the official buyer, so it doesn't trigger a due on sale clause. So the novation kind of on paper shows you as the owner, but you're not legally the owner unless the property, gets paid off, sold. So novation is one strategy. Buying zero down, what we talk about on this Zoom is buying zero down, the Morby method or the stack method, as Marcella said earlier, getting a new loan and you're stacking a note from the seller on top of that. So that's what we do on our strategy that we help people with, is that what you can't do is you can't do the 2 combined. The reason why is because in order to do innovation, they have to remain the seller. And in order to do a buying zero down, you have to have a new loan in place, which means you have to be the buyer. So you're either keeping the existing loan or you're getting a new loan. You're either doing a novation or you're doing a buying zero down with a mortgage method. They're both great strategies. And I think you're right. And I love that because, as Marcelo was saying earlier, we want to be a trusted advisor. And honestly, we talk to people all the time who ask us for money. And if we don't have what they need, if they need PML, we send them to somebody who can help them with PML because we don't do that. If they need hard money loan, we send them to somebody we know who can do a hard money loan because we don't do that. If they need transactional funding, we can help them. So in a similar way, you might be looking to buy a property for zero down, and somebody else might be more interested in, like you said, getting a piece of the pie with a novation. Then I would say, great. Let me point you in the direction of somebody who can do that, or maybe you could do that, and you can use those different strategies depending on what the seller's needs are. And I think that's great. I think it's always good when we're doing creative strategies to know there's more than one way that we can get this done to help the seller. And so, yeah, thanks for bringing that up and thanks for being on here. Marcel, I was just going to add one more thing. You were talking about on the last slide there, maybe they're not interested now. Maybe they're not motivated now. And one of the things we talked about on our Zoom earlier today, with Robert, was that sometimes it's just the timeline. If their house has only been on the market for 30 days, 60 days, I'll wait. I'm trying to get my price. Once it hits 90, 180 or more days, that motivation can change significantly. Cindy's nodding her head. She knows what I'm saying. That, the longer that property sits on market and they're not getting the price they want, the more motivated they would be to a creative strategy, no matter what that creative strategy might be. So that's something to keep in mind. And as we said to Robert, it's great to what Marcella is saying is uncover the need, uncover the timeline, uncover the motivation. And if they're not motivated right now, put on your calendar. You know what? In 30 days, I'm going to check back in with them. And then in 30 more days, I'm going to check back in with them again. And maybe at that point, an unmotivated seller now will be very motivated 60 days from now. So that's something to keep in mind too. But great job. Is there anything else you wanted to add on top of that, Marcel?
No, I was going to say next week we're actually going to dive into a lot more of what that conversation looks like. Like I mentioned tonight was just a broad overview, but I think it's important to remember that these individuals that are looking to sell their home, they all have different reasons. They all have different pain points. Not one of them is the same like the other. And being a good listener is so critical in those initial upfront conversations with them. And what Caroline taught me and Jeff Smith as well is that you will minimum have at least 10 to 15 touch points before they make a decision most of the time. And here's why. They're just trying to figure this out, right? And so life is going to get in the way. And if they are truly ghosting you, trust me, you will know. You will know when they are truly ghosting you because they just don't respond at all. They don't respond to a text. They don't respond to a phone call, right? They don't respond to anything. And it's like maybe 4 months down the road, that's the last time you've talked with them, right? That does happen. But it's okay because this is a numbers game. Even buying property zero down is something I mentioned to Robert a little bit earlier today when I was on a one-on-one Zoom with him earlier, Tim and I were. And we were talking about it's all a numbers game, right? It really truly is to find that person. Like we just had one of our borrowers close with his first buying zero down property with us, with our team in Florida. So Michael, he's in Florida. He's there near the Clearwater area, just so you know. He is one of our borrowers. He's looking for another one now as we speak. Okay. But the first time he's ever done buying a property zero down. So our team does a lot to make sure you fully understand the process. We hold your hand through it. We have an attorney that creates a second position note. We have TCs that are trained by PACE and top tier TC program, and they're amazing. And they are on our team. So they know exactly what to look for in those contracts, right? In the purchase and sale agreements. We've done over hundreds of these. We've been doing these now for several years. So point though being is It's a numbers game, right? And he knows I've got to make a lot more phone calls before I get that next yes. So whether it's wholesaling, whether you are looking to use buying zero down as an acquisition strategy for yourself, right? Or maybe you're going to do double closes because our team also funds double closes, right? We can help with the double close. Doesn't matter. It's still a numbers game. So determine like what your metrics look like for yourself. And this is something I mentioned to Robert earlier, and follow those metrics, right? Like I can tell you when I was on Caroline Kane's team, the minimum was 150 calls a day, no dialer, 150 calls a day. My hand and my phone were the dialer. That was it. And so what I had to do was I was very systematic about my day and my time, and I was doing time blocking to make sure that I was on task, right? And so, you will produce those numbers if you time block it, right? Which is what I did. Like, okay, how many can I do from 8 to 9, and then another bunch from 11 to 1, and whatever it may be. And I got through those, and I was doing that 6 days a week. So was I getting deals? I was, because of the high volume of numbers. Right? So awesome. I'm glad that helped, AJ. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute. This is a small Zoom tonight. We're happy to help before we wrap this up.
Yeah, I was going to jump back to Robert. Did you find those
did.
numbers? We were going to
Yeah,
let's go
I did.
ahead then and take a few
Okay.
minutes. Thank you, Marcella. That was amazing. And again, as she
You're
said,
welcome.
next week she's going to go even deeper into the details of different ways you can approach those conversations with the sellers. She talked a lot tonight about the initial how to get that conversation started, but she's going to go more in depth next week. What's that, Cindy? Okay, no. All right, so no worries. Yeah, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Robert, if you got those numbers ready, we'll throw them in the
Yes, sir.
calculator here so everybody can kind of see how this works. I know Robert's been using this calculator already that we have available. And let's see, I think I got it up here. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is go to our website, which is fund.fundstoclose.net. That's our funding page of our website. And then you got the deal calculator right here. You can see the live deal activity. I love this because it always is exciting to see how many people submitted requests for funding just today. Earnest money, EMD, stack method, 7,500, double close, 1.6 million. Anyway, but click on the deal calculator right here. And we have just the basic stuff right here. So what's the purchase price, Robert?
Purchase price is 125.
125K, okay. And then let's see, do you know how much equity the seller has?
100% equity.
Oh, perfect. I would like to see that. You're always good to go on that. Now, in terms of the DSCR loan, what do you think qualifying? Are you looking at 75, 80%, 70?
I would say as a rookie, they would probably qualify me at about 65%.
Okay, let's put in 65. That'll be interesting. You don't usually do 65, but I love that. Now, if you talk to this person, have you gotten to the point, or do you have an idea of how much they need in their pocket? In other words, so we can figure out how much they're willing to carry back.
The seller has listed that they're willing to sell or carry $115,000.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's quite a bit. So they're not looking to get a whole lot at closing, which is okay. If that's good with them, it's good with us. Okay, and now I don't know, I'm getting lines on the screen, so maybe I need to turn that off. But for now, let's just keep going here. So we got all right, so cash at closing, transactional funding fee, coordination fee, DSCR loan amount would be 81,250, down payment amount needed 43,750. Seller carry amount is very large. So in this case, not only is this possible to purchase this property for zero out of pocket, you're going to end up with over 60,000 in your pocket. Now, what amount are you requesting? So if you were to underwrite this and figure out what it costs, and we could look at that if you have some idea, Robert, but if not, then we'll skip it for now. But if you were to do this, then what you would do is, once you figure out, okay, this is good, I've checked the cash flow looks good, I want to generate an LOI. You can click right here, put in the amount that you need funded is right here. That's what you're requesting. Put in the terms that you discuss with the seller, generate the LOI as a PDF, and you send that over and get it signed. And then you can submit your deal to request funding from our team with the LOI that's signed, and the amount that you're requesting is right here. But let's look at the cash flow, because I think this is a powerful part of this tool is you can actually put in. So the DSCR loan, did you get an idea what rate you might be able to get on that?
Yeah, 9%.
Yeah, let's go with 9%. Usually it's a 30-year loan. Usually you're now, and this is where we get into the seller carry terms. So this is what you would put on that LOI. So if you already know, you've already
seller-
discussed this. Yeah,
Yeah,
what
the
is
seller
this?
seller's looking for a 5% interest rate over
That's
a
great.
30-year term with a
That's
10-year
great.
balloon.
Oh, 10-year balloon. Wow, these are really great terms. Okay. Do you know what you could rent this for? Do you have an idea what you could rent this for?
Expected rent $1,300 per month.
Okay. And then do you have any idea what the property taxes might be?
$150 per month.
Oh, that's not bad. And then the monthly insurance?
I would say about roughly $80 a month.
Okay. Let's just round that up to 100. Let's go with that. Now, are you going to have a property manager take care of this property for you?
Absolutely. It's
What
out of town.
percentage are they charging you?
8%.
Only 8%. Wow, I love all these numbers, man. This is awesome. All right, so here's what we got. Now, granted, you know what? I'm going to go with your 80. I want to see if that makes a difference. I don't know. You said 80. I'm going to go with it. Okay. The SDR loan payment is $657. The seller carryback payment on the amount that we discussed at 5%, 30 years is $617 a month. So the seller carry amount is almost equal to the DSCR loan, but that's because this is, different terms here. Okay. Property taxes, insurance, property management fee. So the total monthly expenses are $1,605. The expected income is $1,300. So that puts you at a negative 305 monthly cash flow. Now, the good news is the DSCR lender probably will give you this loan because the rent to PITI, that's what the DSCR loan is about. It's debt service coverage ratio. The ratio they're talking about in this debt service coverage ratio is the rent divided by the PITI. And they usually need that to be at least 1.25. So in this case, it's 1.47. So what do we do with this negative 305? Well, we can do a couple things. If you're buying this property for tax write-offs, you might not mind paying a little bit yourself. If you're trying to make a profit, however, then you either going to have to figure out how to raise the rent. Maybe you do rent it by doors, do a co-living situation and rent it by doors and rent each one out for $1,000. If you could rent 2 rooms out for $1,000 each and make this 2,000 instead of 1,300 for the whole house, now you're going to have positive cash flow, right? So you can get creative that way. If that doesn't work, then maybe you go back to the seller and go, okay, you know what? In order for me to cash flow this, what if we did 3%? And let's just see. I don't know if that's going to do it or not. Oh, it gets us real close. So there's the good thing with this is it allows you to kind of play with the numbers and think through and figure out, you know what, can I make this work? So was that your analysis?
Yeah.
Robert,
Spot
that,
on.
hey, the numbers look fantastic, but the problem is it's not cash flowing.
Spot on.
And so, yeah, we got to say, okay, unless we're going to do something creative with running by door, turning it into a monthly rental instead of like a midterm rental where you rent it out each month for, I don't know, whatever it would take, 2,000 looks like that would be a good number. Maybe 1,800 if you rented it out for 1,800, as a midterm rental instead of as a long-term rental. There's different ways to get that monthly rent up. But yeah, in the scenario you gave us, it didn't pencil out. Unless we get creative with that. So we can then go back to the deal analysis. We, again, if everything did work out, we can go ahead and generate an LOI. We put in your contact info, the buyer's info, the property address, the terms that were agreed upon, any additional terms, and then click here to download your LOI. So that's the resource we have available here. I just appreciate Robert sharing some numbers with us. You know what? It does make sense when we look at it on the numbers, Robert, because we talked about this today, but putting those numbers in, I can totally see what you're saying. Those numbers look phenomenal in terms of the buying zero down. It's just that cash flow number is not working for us, but I do appreciate you sharing that.
Thank you.
Hopefully that's helpful, and you guys can use that free calculator to throw your deals in there and see if the numbers work out. And if you're not sure, if you have questions about that, you can always reach out to us. We're available to answer questions. You can also book individual Zooms with us through our Calendly link. And yeah, I think that's
So
gonna be it.
Cindy also has a question. So go ahead,
Yes,
Cindy. It's your
absolutely.
turn.
When you guys structure your stacks, you're putting the seller in second lien position, correct?
Correct.
Do you ever do it? I was chatting with a kid yesterday, and I need to talk to him again because his company will do what they call the preferred equity position.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes, that is a different way of setting it up. Sometimes it benefits the seller. They feel more comfortable doing the preferred equity. What that would
Okay.
be is instead of our attorney creating a note that would put them in a second position lien, they would actually become a member of your LLC. They would become a partner with you, and you would have a document that our attorney could still, draft for you that would explain the terms of your partnership. And those terms of your partnership might be, okay, we're not going to pay you like Robert's situation. We're not going to pay you $600 a month. What we're going to do is we're going to share 50% of our profits with you on the rent that we're going to take in. And by doing that, it might allow you, because then you don't have a fixed monthly payment, you have profit sharing. And you could do that for any length of term that you want. You could say, okay, we're going to do this with you. We're going to share 50% of our profits with you on this property for the next 5 years. And at that point, we'll buy you out. And you would then be removed from partnership in the property, and we would go our separate ways, but we would pay you off the rest of the money that we owe you because we're going to refinance it at that point. So yes, that's absolutely a strategy that our team has done. The preferred equity strategy is a possibility. It's a little more, I would say, probably your basic Joe home buyer isn't going to go for that. But if you've got somebody who's a tired landlord who wants to not have to deal with the property, but still wants some profits from the property, the preferred equity route might be more appealing to somebody like that. So, yeah.
Do you
Go
have
ahead.
to
Yeah.
give them money back, or can you just set up an operating agreement like that just, I guess, lets them still have partial ownership and or something like they're a
Well,
1% owner or something like that, and then just so that their name is still on it. So if you don't perform, they can take it back.
right.
Like,
That's the safeguard for them, I guess. It would be if you don't perform well in a second position note, obviously first position is going to get first right to get their funds back, right? They'd have to liquidate the property. Second position would get whatever's left after they liquidate the property and they take their money, then second position gets their money, so they might not get 100% of their money. That's the risk that a second position lien holder has. With a preferred equity, I am not 100% sure what happens if you don't make the payments to the DSCR lender.
okay.
I'm thinking they're going to get nothing because they're not in second position. You basically are in second. I mean, there's not a second position lien in that case. It would be based off of the equity that you're sharing with them as a partnership. So really, it's however you define the terms of that partnership. What you're saying yeah, I don't know. There's probably 100 different ways to structure a preferred equity partnership. And I haven't done any of those. Our team has seen those, but I haven't personally seen those to know the different ways that those can be structured. I just know the basic idea, and it is something that we can do, that our team can help you with.
Okay. Do you ever structure your second position with a shorter time frame of a take back than what the bank has? So, for example, in that case, then if you are not performing, the seller can come in and take it back before the bank forecloses on you. So
Um,
that like protects their second lien position in a sense. Does that make sense?
yeah, I don't know that that would be the case. I don't know that because this is the way the deed's going to play out. If the property gets foreclosed upon, whoever is recorded first, which in this case would be the DSCR lender, gets the first chance to hit at it. So in other words, if the second position lien holder tried to get their money before it got foreclosed on, the
Well, can't
only
they
way.
just take the property back? So if you aren't performing with your payments to them,
Mhm.
they could, can they come and take it back? And
They can, but then they would be the ones that would now owe the DSCR.
right. Oh, they
And
would
that
owe
might
the
not
DSCR?
that might not be favorable to them. If they took the
Oh,
property back, then they're holding the bag for the DSCR loan instead of you. So that's not always the best thing for the seller. That's not
oh, I didn't
always, does that
realize
make
that.
sense? Does that
Okay.
make sense? Somebody's
Yes.
got to pay that DSCR loan back. So if they're taking the property back, they're also taking the debt back, which you currently hold. So that's
Oh,
why I don't think that that's how that plays out. In most cases, the way it plays out is now what you can do is this: you can refinance the home at any point. If you do it before 5 years, you may have some prepayment penalties. But at any point, year two, interest rates drop, or the property appreciates, or something happens in the market, and you can refinance that, pay them off, and get them off of there, right? And pay off the DSCR loan and refinance and get a new loan that's just in your name. That's always an option. Most people wait 5 years because, in most cases, most lenders are going to have prepayment penalties. But after 5 years, those go away. And that's why people do a 5 year balloon, because they're planning on refinancing at that point. Plus, sellers don't want to just get little payments forever. They want that rest of that money at some point. Maybe it's 10 years, like Robert's case, but in most cases, I think it would be 5. So again, all of these things are negotiable. But I appreciate your question. Does that help?
yeah. I just know of a team that uses kind of that, like, we'll give you a shorter note on your seller carry or a shorter take back on your seller carry.
Yeah, and again,
And
in that
then,
case, they may be raising private money, right? They might be like, okay, we between now and
so
then, we're going to bring in some private capital to pay you off.
I don't know, they're getting a DSCR loan,
So
but
yeah,
they're
find
using
out.
that to the
Yeah,
seller, like as a sailing point, sale point to the seller of why
sure.
it's more or why they're covered on a second lien position
I'd be
as
interested in hearing more about how that team is doing that. So if you can get some information on that for us, that'd be fantastic. I'd love to hear what they're saying, and how they're actually doing that. Yeah, because that
right.
that
Okay.
does that. Yeah, but appreciate it,
Yeah, thank you.
Robert. Yeah, you're welcome,
Uh,
Robert. You had your hand up there. What do you got,
I
my
was just
friend?
going to touch on what Cindy was saying. I believe
Yeah.
with what I saw, with what Pace recommended, this was a long while back, and I saw this video in terms of the preferred equity. It works really well as a way to get around the HOAs when you make
Mhm.
the basically the tenant a 0.001% owner in the LLC. Now they are technically an owner and they can move into the property because a lot of the HOAs don't want like you renting the property out on day one. You've got to be in the property for like a year. So that is what I've seen a lot in terms of with the preferred equity. And
Hmm.
then also just wanted to touch on Tim's point with the foreclosures because I'm a licensed loan officer, and also I have experience with the tax liens and deeds. That second position, which would be your seller, they would have to foreclose, which, yes, they would take over the first, they would now still have to take over the first position, which would be the DSCR lender. But you also have to take into consideration if the DSCR lender is only owed $100,000, but the property is worth $300,000, they may just sell it or, to Tim's point, refinance and pay off the DSCR lender and cash out.
Hmm. Yeah. So there are options, and that's great. Maybe, you know what, this is a good idea. We could do a Zoom on specifically talking about the protections and the strategies and the benefits to the seller. Yeah, that would be excellent. And if you can get us some more information about what that team's doing and how they're structuring that, we could include that. That'd be great. Appreciate that. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate your expertise, my friend. And we are at, well, a little bit over an hour here. I think it's unless somebody has a burning question, we can stick around for a minute if anybody has another question. But if not, we're going to let you guys go. And we are looking forward to next week to hear a little bit more about the deeper details of talking to sellers from Marcella. Um, and we appreciate you guys being here and bringing your energy, bringing, you know, your questions, your deals. That's why we're here. We want to help you guys to understand how this works and help you get some properties in your portfolio. So
Thanks everyone for coming. It was great seeing you all. Have a great rest of your night and week ahead. We will see you next Wednesday. Bye.